Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Definitely not happy about the outcome of today's game. Dolphins defeat the Cowboys, walk-off field goal by Jason Sanders, 22-20. As we drop another road game, we drop back-to-back games to AFC East teams. Bills last week, Dolphins today. 10-5 on the year. We know we have a clinch playoff spot, but in terms of stringing together habits that will be needed in the playoffs, knowing what's to come, because this is a game of habits, and what we see here is most likely what we will see in the playoffs, barring injuries and other things of that sort. And it's just a period of frustration as a Cowboys fan. I'm sick of the excuses. I'm look, this is just honest, truthful reaction right after this game. I want to have a discourse. I want to talk to Cowboys Nation. I want to figure out these things and make sure that my thoughts are, you know, are reasonable in terms of the bigger picture. But look, as much football as I watch, and I trust my eye, I really do. There are things you cannot ignore, and it's honesty hour right now. And it's time for us to be honest as Cowboys fans. Look, I highlighted here on the banner penalties, mental toughness, coaching blunders, general awareness, which I'll touch on, that plague us. And the reason why they plague us in these moments is because these things, they're actually doing a lot of these things against some of the bad teams, but because of their talent level, they have so much margin that it does not get magnified against those teams. When we're playing teams that are just as good, if not better than us, you cannot have the amount of mistakes and close little things here that we see. And I understand there's look, I'm not talking about Micah Parsons not getting holding call for the last 38 quarters. That's egregious. That needs to be taken up with the league. Jerry Jones has to get involved on that shit. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about what, I yes, other teams are not officiated to the fine with, to the finest hair like we are. But damn it, we have to stop making that excuse. We are the most penalized team in the NFL, and we have been for years. You're coming off of a game that spiraled out of control last week on the road because of penalties. You've lost playoff games that have spiraled out of control because of penalties. And the fact that there's so many awesome people out here in content, and there's so many people that break down the Cowboys. And as much as we talk about the Cowboys, I don't hear not one person emphasizing the issue with the penalties. And I'm here to do it. If you're here and you want to hear truth and you really want to know what's going on, we're not sugarcoating shit anymore. The penalties, that stuff, there are things you can control. And look, is it nitpicky to call an illegal shift on CeeDee Lamb because he does get back on side and Jake Ferguson doesn't get set? It's 3rd and 11. I need you to line up on sides. We can't we can't be a tick off. I can't have a face mask penalty on the last drive of the game where we have a 17-play drive to get the lead. We're up 2019. This is high pressure, high stakes football right now. High stakes football right now. We're coming out on defense. We have to be perfect because all they need is a field goal. And they have clock game on their side. So they have two advantages. The one thing you can't have is we can't just give it up. And you come out and get a face back. That's a lack of discipline. And we've gone offsides on a field goal before. We've gone offsides on 4th and 1 before that have cost us games. We roughed the kicker last week. How many excuses are we going to make? And we ignore it. A lot of Cowboys fans and a lot of people that cover this team ignore it, or they don't emphasize it enough. And no one's pressing Mike McCarthy about it. But it plagues this team week in, week out. And that goes into the next thing in terms of mental toughness. Because you have to be mentally tough to understand, hey, right now, we have to be on point, or else we're going to lose. Period. If you're not buttoned up, you're going to lose. Miami almost lost the game because they were passing and fair like crazy at the end. They're holding. So that's part of the game. And we keep coming up on the wrong side of this shit. So it's a problem. It was a problem last week. But we like sidestep it and then we start talking about other things. And yes, everything is important. But if we don't emphasize it now, we are going to get beat by it when we have little margin and we're playing the really good teams. And that's the difference. And that's the difference between a close loss and a spiral or whatever, because they are not even buttoned up. It's not emphasized. If it was emphasized, they'd be better at it. If it was emphasized, they'd be better at it. But I go to the mental toughness aspect, just understanding situational, football and coaching wise. And I guess this is coaching blunder too, but Mike McCarthy got bailed out by Dak Prescott and Brandon Cooks. But ultimately, here's the thing. Just because you had a fumble on the first drive does not mean you go to PTSD and you get cute and hand the ball off. We didn't need to get into that scenario. Now we avoided it because we have some players. We avoided some other stuff because CeeDee Lamb's just a dog and can run and ran away from the defense. Have y'all noticed that we can't run the football against any good teams? Look at the statistics here. Let's go over the stats. Every time we play somebody halfway decent, we're one dimensional. 97 yards rushing a day. A lot of that is by the quarterback. The quarterback is second leading rusher. And then my next leading rushers are 3 receivers. When we actually decided to get creative, by the way, because I'm going to touch on that in a second. But we actually can't. We have a $10 million running back on a franchise tag. We can't run the football. And he's a good player. This is just some real shit here. The play before the fumble in the first quarter where Tony Pollard gets turned sideways by Deshaun Elliott. Shout out to Deshaun Elliott, hook 'em horns. Brandon Jones, hook 'em horns. Gets turned sideways on the goal line. Tony Pollard's what, 215? Coming downhill off a pitch from the option? Where's our nose for the end zone? Where's our nose to score? Right? Good bat. Raheem Mostert has 20-some touchdowns this year for a reason. You have a nose for the end zone. You run behind your pads, you freaking score. And because he gets turned sideways, that right there is the Cowboys in a microcosm. That's been the Cowboys for years in a microcosm. Close, but you can't get over the goal line because some dumb shit like that happens. And it's time to call it out. Like it's happened all year. It's happened all year in the big games against the good teams. We're wasting some good Dak stuff, by the way, because I get the lack of comms on the road is really slowing him down. And the proficiency of the offense is just not there on the road. I actually think that is attributed to the lack of aggressiveness in terms of motion and how you're structuring your plays if you're Mike McCarthy. I don't see as much route combinations. I see a lot of isolated stuff. The script today was phenomenal. Notice when we were in script, opening script, we were able to go right up and down the field, even with the fumble, and back the other way and find space. We had timing throws were on time. We had motion. We had CeeDee Lamb carrying the ball from the backfield. We had orbit motion. We had RPO, boot to Jake Ferguson on a 4th and 1. We had all these creative things going, and when the script ran out, Vic Fangio was on Mike McCarthy's ass. Go watch the game. When the script ran out, until the fourth quarter, and I give him credit on that 17-play drive, and when they started, and even the field goal before that, because they did come back technically down 2 scores and take a lead. So they're not completely absent of mental toughness. That might be an exaggeration for me because I'm reacting right after the game. They did come back from down 2 scores. They were down 19-10. They went up 20-19. But the fact that they're so stubborn and it's taking them so long to understand that Combs on the road, and when I say Combs, he can't go do the here we go cadence. He's doing leg kick. The defense is seeing the leg kick, so they fire off the ball. We have low IQ players like Adoga out there who don't understand that you need to block Bradley Chubb when he's right freaking in front of you. I don't understand why there needs to be communication for him to understand that, but he doesn't. And he's sliding over blocking bluff guys. But regardless, when we started doing our boot stuff and we got back under center and mixed in play action and mixed in some run, even if we're not running it effectively, we're running some. Our offense is at least effective, and we're able to get points again. But when we're down at the 5 yard line and we're doing QB sneak and we're going empty with the leg kick in no motion, we're getting no data pre snap. The same data, they did a zone blitz today. We were empty. Nobody turned around hot. It's interesting because if we were at home, Dak can do a bluff cadence and see that they're going to blitz from depth, and boom, we have a quick slant to Ferguson or Turpin there. We're off and running. We've recognized the blitz. We've gathered the data. We can't gather data on the road. Now, I give them credit because there were some positives. The defense holding them to 5 field goals and only a touchdown is one of the best offenses in the league, if not the best offense in the league. That's impressive. Holding Tyreek Hill to 99 yards, that's impressive. And Waddle had the one big catch of the inning. I know he was banged up in and out, but they did a good job of containing and slowing things down. I know the controversy all week about Micah Parsons being in the middle of the defense and all that type of stuff. Look, for the stubborn people out there that don't understand it and whatnot, no one's saying that Micah Parsons needs to be your full-time inside linebacker. What we're saying is if people are gashing you on outside zone, and by the way, the Dolphins run probably the closest scheme that you will see to the 49ers. If we get to the point of rematching them again in the playoffs, that's some of the problem solving you're going to need to have to deal with those weapons. By the way, that leads me to another thing. Because of the challenges we see in the middle of these games, and this is why I'm frustrated again. Notice how Miami in crunch time, they understand how to use their weapons and get the ball their weapons because their coach understands how to line people up all over the place and manipulate the defense to get leverage or to get the matchup that he wants. In the middle of these football games, we came out doing it with CeeDee Lamb. He immediately goes for 4 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown the first quarter. We go away from it. I don't see him in the backfield again. I don't see him out a bunch. I don't see him. We just lining him up, running straight, route stuff. It goes back to like the Kellen Moore, Scott Linehan mindset of just beat the defense. We're not actually. Kyle Shanahan doesn't do offense that way. Kyle Shanahan attacks the defense with his chess pieces. People will always be in motion. Christian McCaffrey's not lining up in the same play. You will never see Deebo Samuel stagnant the way we use CeeDee Lamb stagnant until the end of the game when we really, really got to have it. And then you start to see the cool plays again. Especially when you have offensive line challenges, especially when you struggle to run the football. You're trying to figure out what you got to do at home. I'm glad that they mixed in some tempo today. And it wasn't the most effective, but it was a change up. At least to say the whole point is not allowing a defense at home to get set and to change the picture on the quarterback and to change the picture on the offense. You have to attack. You have to dictate those things. And it shouldn't be me, Joe Blow fan over here saying that. That's just basic football. And it's freaking infuriating to see my team struggle with these things on a regular basis. That's why I say it's coaching blunders. The own coach had PTSD at the goal line at the end of the game, and they bail him out. We shouldn't have to tell. I don't care if Udoga's a backup. It's Bradley freaking Chubb. Head up in front of you, and you're looking inside. Like it's the little things. And until the Cowboys show the mental toughness to have attention to detail in the most critical moments, they will always come up short and get tackled sideways the way Tony Pollard did. That's how our season will end. And that's how our season has ended the last 2 years. And I'm frustrated because they are good. We do have a good quarterback. I do believe that this coach, he's obviously not a bad coach. Obviously, he's not a bad Dan Quinn can be stubborn as hell too. Don't even get me started with the bullshit he did last week. But that's why it's frustrating because they're not going to get over the hump with the lack of emphasis on the attention to detail, and that's not Dallas. It's not until I see it, until proven otherwise. Dallas is going to show up in these road games. They're probably going to play a hot Tampa Bay team. That's not a given, by the way Baker and them are playing. FYI, they have to go on the road to Tampa Bay, but they're better. They should be better than Tampa Bay, and they're going to end up in the same boat against San Francisco. Because at the end of the day, San Francisco's not going to beat themselves like that. They're not, when they have to have it against Dak, they're not going to give up a face mask penalty to let the drive go so you get in comfort, not only to get points, but run the clock out. But we don't want to talk about that as Cowboys fans. We want to bitch about other things and blame Dak and blame this and blame XYZ when you're not talking. We're not talking about 5-yard ticky tack penalties. We're talking about penalties that are negating massive plays. We're talking about game changing penalties. We're talking about 15 yards. Now they're already in motion and field goal range. You're dead in the water. When are we going to change? Like I said, these are the habits. You are what your habits are. If you're road warriors, you'll show that. If you're a team that has critical attention to detail in the final moments, you'll show that. Your coaches will show it too. And until the Cowboys show that, then they're just going to be a really good, really talented team that loses to the other good teams because they can hold their water better in the critical moments. When all the chips are on the table and all that pressure's on, they won't beat themselves. And you can put money that Dallas is going to get in their own way. And that's what makes me sad as a fan. That's why this is it's the reality. We have to be honest with ourselves. Hit the like button. Let me know if you want to argue with me. Sure. I'd love to talk more about the lack of creativity that I saw. If you saw something different, if you thought Mike was using motion, if you thought he was lining up CeeDee Lamb all over the place in the middle of the field, I thought he changed up after the script went out, and I didn't see it again until the end of the game when we needed it. I think it's encouraging in that regard that we were able to generate some offense against some good football players out there, but still didn't get it done at the end of the day. Came up short, just like the Eagles game on the road. It's frustrating. Anyway, Merry Christmas. I'm venting right now as a fan, but in all seriousness, I'm grateful for all that. Tons of Longhorn content coming this week. Obviously, recruiting, getting caught up on that, as well as Washington prep for the Sugar Bowl. And I will be doing a live show on Bleacher Report on the conclusion of the Sugar Bowl, Texas versus Washington. So tune into the Bleacher Report app to see your boy reacting on there and covering Texas. So but Cowboys fans, we got to get our shit together. We got Detroit next week. Jimmy Johnson's going to the Ring of Honor. We can't take a L next week for mental sanity's sake. Nah, not on that day. Anyway, y'all get back at me. Peace.